It's February 27th, 2024, and here's Neil.
Well, hello everyone. Thanks for joining me. This is the THC Show where we talk about cannabis, THC, and truth, hope, and change. Truth, hope, and change is what we're really looking for. You know, change would be good. On the show today, we'll have 8 out of 10 Glenn from cannabis.ca. As always, we'll visit the CSP Healing Wave RV briefly and do a regular thing with a 420 session and talking about what's going on in the world. And you know what's going on in the world? I have some really great news. Here in Vancouver, apparently the whole prohibition of drugs is coming to an end. We've had a major bust happen, and the police chief is confident that this is the one that's going to put a dent in the whole thing. They arrested 8 people, and apparently those are the last remaining 8 people that are willing to take part in illegal drug gang type activity. So we can all rest a lot easier now that the public shootings are going to end, and our young people being lured into a life of dealing drugs and all that entails is going to end, because the police are doing their job and they are arresting the people and they are seizing all of the drugs and guns and money that was out there, and we won't have to worry anymore. Do you believe that? Then you are a fool. But this is what the government is telling us, and this is what they have been telling us for decade after decade after decade. The police in Abbotsford and the RCMP interdicted on a major drug organization. They found a fentanyl lab and all kinds of fentanyl-laced pills, and they've arrested 8 people. And of course, you've all seen it before. A table full of drugs, guns, money, proud cops standing there like as if they did something. And it's all should be over soon, shouldn't it? I mean, that's that for that. Except that's not what happens at all. There seems to be more than just those 8 people willing to break the law to get people the drugs that they demand. In fact, there seems to be a non-ending supply of rebellious, desperate young people willing to take that job on. So when the police go in and arrest 8 people, that means that there's 8 vacancies available that are now going to be filled after violence typically takes place to decide who gets those positions. But they don't stop a damn thing. It's like they're standing under Niagara Falls with a teacup, and they're all proud of themselves about how they're stopping the water flow by catching it in their cup. They are doing nothing but continuing to drain tax dollars to pay for their outrageously expensive attempts to prohibit people from getting the drugs that they demand. And they do nothing except cause violence. Because the day after the cops made their 8 arrests, well, wouldn't you know it, there's a gangland shooting that goes on in White Rock that's related to that, where they spray a whole neighborhood full of bullets. Scared the hell out of innocent people. This is caused by the police, by the government, by policies of prohibition and using the criminal law and the biggest hammer they can get to try to eradicate the scourge of drug dealing, which happens because they created it. It's a money-making project. It is never ending. We have seen photo after photo after photo, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, decade after decade of cops standing beside the loot and the drugs that they seized and having arrested the key people. And that's supposed to stop something? All it does is start something. All it does is it creates a vacuum that nature will fill with violence. And we're all at risk because of it. Not to mention the cost. Every time there's a gangster shot in the drug trade, It's a minimum $1 million investigation that goes on. Oh, the police working diligently to find the culprits. Oh boy, gotta have the public safe from these people. Yeah, right. They're all just cashing their paychecks. Just flapping their gums and saying that they're doing something when they're not. I don't even know if they believe it themselves anymore. I mean, it's outrageous. They can't win. You cannot arrest your way out of drug gangs and the consequences of drug prohibition. There's a never-ending supply of good young people that would be taking other jobs if those jobs weren't being made available because of government policy. They're lying to us. They're wasting our money. They are doing nothing to curb the drug trade, and they are creating great amounts of violence, mayhem, and chaos in our communities as a result. The Trudeau cartel has taken over a good portion of the cannabis sales in Canada. That'll be held by the big boys, as the license holders are bought out by the bigger companies. And pretty soon we've got the same as commercial tobacco going on. Meanwhile, the price of cannabis being kept up higher than it was during Prohibition, those people being left out of the marketplace because of the barriers imposed upon them by the Cannabis Act, they are still buying unregulated cannabis. And the government is still wasting billions of our dollars to go after those people on our behalf to protect us from the unregulated cannabis, the scourge of society, cannabis that's not regulated by the government. Oh my goodness, so many deaths, so many hospital wards filled with people suffering from the scourge of unregulated cannabis. My God, what a joke. Cannabis never hurt nobody. Regulated cannabis, on the other hand, has hurt people. Class action lawsuits, recalls, warnings, all kinds of things. Because they're bastardizing the plant. They're trying to maximize their profits. And they don't give a damn about the people. So most people, most reasonable, smart people, don't use government stores. They have hookups of people who grow compassionately, who care about what they're doing, who put their love and heart into the flowers that they develop for people. And most people have that kind of a hookup. On the other hand, we have the hard drugs. Those hard drugs causing all sorts of mayhem in our society as well. And the police are interdicting with people that would like to have a safer supply of those drugs. There was the Drug Users Liberation Front, making sure people got a safe supply that registered with them. All drugs tested before they went out. Cops moved in, arrested the 2 key people, big headlines all over the place. The funding that they had received because they had proven they were doing good work was pulled. And now here we have another report out of Kelowna talking about the results of that place. It's clear evidence. They were saving lives. They were getting people off of some of those drugs. They were doing what they said they were doing. But the government will have none of it because they've monetized and weaponized this whole drug addiction that they've created, and they're cashing in on it every day. Meanwhile, again, there's us. Cannabis Substitution Program and all that entails. We have 8 different chapters now working out there in Canada. People providing cannabis at low barrier to the people that can't afford it the most and need it the most. And they're taking us to court. 2 years ago, this coming March, the Cannabis Substitution Program in Vancouver was descended upon by the VPD. Charges were laid against myself and two of my colleagues, and we have been marching towards our court date ever since. Finally, we have them. Hopefully it works. March 26th, 27th, and 28th. We'll be in court for preliminary hearings where the Crown gets to prove to the judge that they have a good case against myself for selling cannabis without a license. I guess we kind of hope that they prove their case and it moves on to the main hearing where we get to show our evidence about why that was the right thing to do and continues to be. I'm looking forward to it. I don't think they have a case against me. I think we have a great case against them. And we're going to expose what the government's doing on this file. We're going to expose that they're willing to spend upwards of $1 million to try to stop the Cannabis Substitution Program from succeeding, and to try to punish me for daring to break the law and saving people's lives when the authorities told me not to. We're going to expose the medical value of cannabis in that court case. We're going to show how it helps people, not just in being able to assist people through withdrawal with the edibles of much higher doses than are available through government stores, but that it targets the underlying drivers of addiction. It deals with people's depression. It helps people with their pain. It helps people sleep. So now there's a new study where British investigators looked into it, and I think there was 40,000 people involved in the study, and showed that the vast majority of them got sustained, improved sleep using cannabis. You might not think that means very much. But insomnia is one of the biggest problems we have in society. 1 in 3 people can't sleep properly. 1 in 3 people suffer from missing work, depression, anxiety, delusions, overall general fatigue, not being able to properly deal with their children and their family and the workplace, because sleep is super important. You have to get it. And for those that have trouble, cannabis can be an answer. And it has been for so many people over the course of time. And the government ignores that. Even if that was the only benefit of cannabis, was that it helped people get a better night's sleep that need it. When 1 in 3 Canadians is having trouble with that, I suggest it's not quite the right thing to do to try to prohibit the supply of cannabis. I think the government was way out of line in their attempt to prohibit people from accessing cannabis for the last 100 years. Turns out it doesn't cause any of the violence and the problems that reefer madness said happened. And that seems to be the basis of the prohibition here in Canada, was following in line based on the fears of reefer madness. The government has been way out of line in prohibiting cannabis and trying to keep people from accessing it for all this time. There never was any justification whatsoever for prohibiting cannabis. What was there was lies. And any government minister doing due diligence would have figured that out pretty quick. But instead they're on the take. There's incentives. There's ways that they get to these people to make them do their bidding. And administration after administration in Canada has maintained this immoral and unjustified attempt to restrict and prohibit access to cannabis for over 100 years. The problem is it's continuing.
Okay.
Sorry about that. The other thing that's continuing is my struggles with this thing in my throat that has been causing me all kinds of trouble for the last year or so. But I guess on that note, I'll tell you that it's been getting better.
Yeah.
I can drink almost like a normal person, and I even tried a couple of bites of solid food today, which I eventually got down, and it looks like maybe that's the direction I'm heading in. I'm actually feeling pretty good most days. Although after my nap before the show today, I woke up feeling not great, and I do have trouble sustaining 20 minutes of monologue without having to clear my mouth. But in any case, that's all I want to say about that. So the bottom line to all this is that they have been lying to us, using our precious tax resources and ruining Canadian lives for over 100 years, and it is continuing on unabated, with more arrests of gang people and more shootings in the streets, and us having to go to court on this to prove that we're not hurting anybody and that the government is negligent in not supporting what is clearly the best harm reduction initiative that's happened since this public health emergency 8 years ago. I don't know how much more we have to do. I really don't think we have to do anything more. Our lawyers got plenty of evidence to hit the ground running and prove our case beyond any shadow of a doubt. The government doesn't have anything anyway. They have no victims. They have not been able to show in any of their disclosure that we've harmed anybody in any way, shape, or form. We have dispensed tens of millions of milligrams of high-dose edibles day after day here for over 7 years. The CSP ran for 3.5 years giving it away. Just high-dose edibles and a couple of joints to a couple hundred people that would line up twice a week. We were so successful at doing that the city passed a motion based on our work to support us 100%. But then they welched on that. They went the other way on that. I guess my clock didn't go off at 4:19.
My watch is though.
That's why I have a producer. So it is 4:19. No alarm to let you know that, but I'm telling you that. We don't have too much more time, so I'll just wrap it up there. This BS needs to stop. The governments need to be exposed for what they've done for 100 years and continue to do. They definitely need to embrace low barrier access to cannabis marketplace, but for consumers and the suppliers. And you can help make it happen. We can help make it happen through the courts, but we have to be on it because they're powerful forces, well leveraged, and very dedicated to try to take over this market that is so lucrative if they can make it stick. So we can't let it stick. We have to just continue to bash against it and continue to do whatever it is that we each can do as individuals and we can all do as in the groups that we're in to stop them once and for all. Hope we can do it. I look forward to you being part of the team. And that brings us to 420, of course. A little bit of leverage on or levity, at least on our side here. A little bit of, somewhat less serious note. I try to have as much fun as I can, and it's really hard to have fun with prohibition. But that's why you get 420 at least once a day to have a couple puffs of the magic herb. And I do that with Glenn Wells. Sir Wells, got your...
Sir Magnuson, how are you?
Got your hockey gear all on there. You're decked out for the game tonight.
Yeah, you're wearing your scarf too, so yeah.
Yeah, well, we're still in first place.
See Mr. Crosby.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. We got a large part of their old management team here.
I know.
And some of their ex-players. And
so it should be a good game.
Should be a very good game.
Yeah.
And like I say, we are still in first place, but boy, we are in a dead heat with the Rangers.
Oh, really?
With Boston.
Oh, really? Rangers will come up now?
And with the Florida Panthers.
Wow.
They're all as close to being tied as you can. The Canucks have played one more game than a couple of those, and they're 1 point behind. But
Yeah, we got 83 points now, right?
82.
82? I thought we had 83.
Well, it said 82 this morning.
All right, okay.
But we're still having a great year and loving every moment of it. Today, I go right off on the Canucks. We used the 420 session to go right to the Canucks. That's good.
Well, I'm kind of wearing a shirt today, too, yeah.
Sports, it is disgusting, but it is all about gambling now.
Yeah.
You cannot escape. If you're watching any professional sports, you certainly cannot escape the influence that gambling is having all over it. I guess I should have a puff.
You might want to have a puff.
But before I do that, I want to just state that this morning, the gambling odds by the main gambling outlet showed the Vancouver Canucks having the best odds of winning the Stanley Cup of all other NHL teams.
Yeah.
I don't believe it for a minute. I'll believe it if I see it, but I've been fooled too many times. But there we are. Those that say they know think the Vancouver Canucks have the best chance of winning the Cup.
And even tonight on the odds on the game, they've got Pittsburgh as the higher odds to lose. If you win, they'll pay you 2.3% more or something like that. Where they've got Vancouver at 1.60, right? So,
and on the one hand, Vancouver's at the top of the standings, so they got more points than Pittsburgh, who's on the outside looking in right now. They're 3 points behind the Lightning for that last spot, if you take into account the less games played. And I do, and I give them credit for 1 point for every less game that they've played. And based on that, they're still on the outside looking in. But they're on the outside looking in, 3 points behind. They're desperate. They got a lot to play for. Yeah. Vancouver is trying to finish first, la-di-da, right? I mean,
trying to.
It's not like they're going to miss the playoffs. Not like they got to scramble into the last spot.
But it's good. No, we don't need to slow down.
And they still got Vancouver as favorites to win the game, so that's pretty good.
No slowing down. No, because we know what happens when they slow down.
You know what I got in here?
Resin.
No, I got diamond in terp sauce.
Yes.
Diamonds in terp sauce.
Yeah.
And honey oil. And some Khalifa mint flour.
Oh, I don't know what that is. What's Khalifa mint? You mean like a cannabis strain?
Yeah,
okay.
It's a flour.
That's a name.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Oh, and some black cherry chemo as well.
I know where you got that from.
Both of those came from the same source.
Oh, really? Hey, I guess you forgot that she was going to send me some too. That's all right. Don't worry about it. It's been a few months since she said that she would do that. So.
Well, and that's in short supply. Or the black cherry punch.
Oh, no. You had black cherry chemo here on the show. I mentioned it to her the last time that we had it. It was a while ago.
To her?
Yeah.
Her.
Didn't Candy Bar send you some?
No.
Oh, she did. At one time, yes.
Not the black cherry chemo.
Yes.
No, there was another strain. It was close to that. But
was it?
Yeah.
I could have swore it was her. No? Okay. All right.
No, there was something else she sent me that had black in the title.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to have to look back. I'm pretty sure it was black cherry chemo.
No.
Okay.
No, that's my other friend.
I can't even share under a group because I'm blocked, so I can't even look right now.
What do you mean you're blocked?
Yeah. I was sharing out Mike Rita and me and Sterling singing from last year or a couple of years ago, and somebody blocked me. So I got a ban for
complained about you
7 days. Yeah.
What the hell?
So
Mike Rita's on top of the world, eh?
Oh yeah, he's in San Francisco.
He's got a new. I guess
movie?
It's a sitcom or a series or something going on called Portuguese Problems.
Yeah.
And apparently it's a hit. No, it's not a movie. I think it's a sitcom. I think it's a made-for-TV sitcom as far as I know.
Yeah.
He's going to be in Vancouver doing a show here.
No, Victoria.
He's coming here too. He's got a date here.
Did he?
I'm sure he did.
Because I asked him about that.
I did see one.
I saw a Victoria one, but I didn't see a Vancouver one.
I did see a Vancouver one, and he would drop in here anyway.
He did a Portuguese kids show already because we went to it.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
We went to it, right?
Yeah. This is a little different than that.
Yeah, okay.
They had their big tour with the Portuguese kids all over the place.
They're still with them, yeah.
They went to different venues all across the country and all around the world, or different places in the world.
Yeah.
This is a sitcom that's been approved. I think many of the people that were involved in that are also involved in this.
Yeah.
But this is a little different. This is a big catch for Mike Rita.
Nice. It's about time. He needs it.
Well, he's a
Well, he's
superstar.
a good star, yeah. Like he needs it because he's been working hard at doing it.
He has. He has honed his craft over
Yeah.
many years. He's as funny as can be. If you get a chance to see Mike Rita, make sure you go see Mike Rita.
Oh yeah.
You will thank yourself for doing that. Laughter, after all, is the best medicine.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. And a few puffs and a Mike
Cannabis.
Rita show.
That's great.
Man, I have some great memories of him, putting me on the floor, basically rolling around in the aisles, laughing my head off.
Yeah.
He's a funny man.
Pretty good there.
He's got some funny stories, and he's got some funny ways of telling those stories.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So, here's another revelation from my health file
Yeah.
that I've come across that is very, very disturbing. I guess it's going to be part of the show moving forward because it's part of what's going on with me. And this is, after all, about truth, and I do try to tell the truth,
Try.
I don't try to tell the whole truth because that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of truth.
And sometimes you just gotta not tell the truth.
And sometimes it's best to not tell the truth.
Exactly.
But, I've been hard sell. They've used a hard sell on me at the BC Cancer Institute.
No, they've been trying
to do the radiation and the chemo and the surgery. And I was quite perturbed with the fact that there's no supports for people looking for an alternative
Natural
way.
ways. Yeah.
They discourage it. They'll tell you there's nobody that's ever survived using that.
Which is a lie.
And they really do everything they can. In fact, when you're asking for their help in any other way, like I need scans done to see what the progress is on what's going on here.
Yeah.
And they are going to give me another scan at the end of April.
Good.
But I also wanted a consultation with an ear, nose, and throat specialist that they have on staff there.
Yeah.
And basically the receptionist was rude to me. She said, well, it says here you've refused treatment.
No.
Wow.
I refused the treatment that you want to give me. I'm not using my own treatment.
This is where Canadians or British Columbians go to get help with their cancers. This is not Dave's Cancer Clinic. This is the BC Cancer Institute.
Yeah.
Well, I represent a whole bunch of British Columbians who don't want to go through that conventional therapy for whatever reason, a variety of different reasons to not go through that. Perfectly legitimate position to take.
Your body.
And there's no supports for us within British Columbia from the provincial government. They're spending billions more dollars for another radiation chemo place up in the Okanagan now.
Yeah.
And they're hell-bent on continuing this particular type of treatment.
Because that's where Big Pharma's going to make all the good money, right?
And that's what brings me to why I'm bringing this up. So it's not just, as I suspected, that these doctors at the Cancer Institute are all just trained for that. That's all they know. So there's that. And it's not just that they want to discourage people from using alternative treatments because maybe it's not as effective, and then you wouldn't get this treatment. Because who's going to choose getting burnt, poisoned, and cut over taking a whole bunch of vitamins and trying to shift your body's pH and using meditation and topicals and a whole bunch of other things? There is a whole bunch of other things that are some of them, effective in dealing with some types of cancers, and they would rather you don't go that way. It's not just any of those things. What it is big bucks.
Yep, it's big bucks.
It's really big bucks.
And you would not be here today if you had gone into the conventional therapy that they wanted you to go into 6 months ago. You would be here.
6 months, a year ago.
But you wouldn't be able to talk. Your voice box would be gone. There would be no show. I didn't mean by not be here.
I'm not doing a show without hair, I'll tell you.
Yeah, we would not be doing a show because your voice would be gone.
And my hair would be gone. Like I say, I'm not doing a show without hair.
Yeah, so.
No question about it.
Yeah.
I've had a really good year. It's not been without a struggle, for sure.
And they said you should be.
And so be it. You fight battles in your life, and this is one, and maybe this is one of the toughest ones without their treatment.
Yeah.
But still, I've had a really good year.
Yeah.
I cherish every day. Every day is a wonderful thing to wake up and feel like I can go out and do something and have another good day. But the big financial side of this, in the United States, all of the doctors that get their patients to take chemo get 6%
Oh, wow.
cut
What about Canada?
on the cost. In Canada, it's hidden.
It's hidden.
They all get to be on pharmaceutical advisory boards
Yeah.
where they get paid, but they don't have to show up. But there's big financial rewards for these doctors to be getting the patients to go through chemo.
Wow.
Chemotherapy is extremely expensive
It is.
because of the chemical that's supplied by the
And
pharmaceutical
not all of
companies.
it's covered by the government either. You have to pay out of pocket for some
Lots of people
medications
have
that
to
they
pay.
that they have it.
And even if lots of people are getting government covered, that just means taxpayers are paying. That's still coming out of us. That's still basically $100,000 per patient going to the pockets of the pharmaceutical companies for their chemo drugs. And the doctors are getting a cut of that and benefiting financially from that, as opposed to just about any other healthcare practitioner that's out there, including in the States.
And we all know that the pharmaceutical companies will harm people just because they know that the profits are going to be more than them paying out in suits and stuff like that, in cases, and liable cases. So they'll go ahead and try to give us some cancer stuff that might hurt and eventually give us cancer so that they can make more money on us at the end of our lives when we've got cancer, right?
They basically don't care.
It's like
all they care about is pumping you some chemo drugs into you so they can make money.
They want it sick. If we're
Sure.
sick, they're making money. If
They
we're
need
healthy,
cancer
they're not making
patients
money.
to sell the chemo drugs, for one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure you can trust their diagnosis.
It's fucked up. We know that cannabis can get rid of cancer for you. It can help prevent it, and it also has not, because I've known some people who've had brain cancer that cannabis has not been able to help. But I know stomach
There's
cancer.
the gliomas, brain tumors. The cannabis has been extremely effective, and some epilepsies, cannabis has been extremely effective.
Seizures,
But you can't even trust their diagnosis. Our friend Bruce here. He was feeling really down. He had like a flu sort of thing going on for quite a while. He goes to the hospital. They tell him he's got lung cancer.
Wow.
He's got tumors in his lungs. Holy smokes, he was devastated.
Yeah, I guess so.
And scared.
Yeah.
And immediately he's going to go through with the treatments. They're telling him he should go. Turns out, misdiagnosed.
Oh.
It wasn't that at all.
Oh, what was it?
Oh, jeez.
Just some cysts?
No,
Maybe a growth?
I don't know, so I can't say.
Yeah. So he doesn't have cancer now.
He doesn't have cancer. Yeah, that turned around within about a month. He had another opinion.
Wow.
And it wasn't cancer.
Wow. Wow.
So now he's doing just fine,
day.
Glorious day.
Wow. Hey.
So how many other people are they misdiagnosing because they're quick to a diagnosis because they want to get that intravenous chemo drug going into you so they can get their bank account going cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yep.
Conflict of interest, to say the least. Like, this is crazy.
And they said if you didn't have their conventional, you should be dead by now, right? And here you are, a year later, talking, feeling even better than you were a year ago. So
I did get to the brink.
Yeah,
a month ago. The only reason we're talking about it on the show is because it got to the point where I couldn't hide it anymore, and I couldn't do the show properly anymore.
Yeah.
And so I decided to let the audience know that this is what's been going on. And so since then, and now a month later, I can drink quite well. And that was the issue back there, was my throat had pretty much closed up and not allowing hardly any even liquid down. I haven't had solid food in a year and a half, except for today. But so I think, I was certainly at the brink of going to the hospital and getting a feeding tube put in and whatever that entails and other things. But there's been a real turnaround in the direction that things are going, to the point where I felt good enough today to go buy a chicken leg and to try taking a bite of it, and I chewed it and chewed it and chewed it and chewed it, and after a while of chewing it, most of it had been swallowed, and I swallowed the rest of it. I still think I did that again 25 minutes later, so I had 2 bites. I still think I got a little bit of it stuck there. It's not going down yet, and I've drank quite a bit of fluid since to try to move it down. So it's not comfortable to eat, and I'm not there yet, but I believe that's the direction that I'm going. I can feel this thing in here, and the obstruction is considerably less, but I don't know until they do a scan.
On
what's going on. But I mean, they should have at least told me a year ago, Mr. Magnuson, you can go through this conventional therapy of ours, and it's really going to leave you debilitated to quite an extent, and you won't have a voice anymore. And there are potential side effects and some real, health deteriorating effects of these procedures. But if you want to try to fight it on your own, well, you should get a pretty good year out of it if you're not eating things you shouldn't be eating and you're putting a bunch of stuff in there that should help you. You should get, at least a pretty good year out of it. I would have chosen the year probably instead of the possibility of 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
But being old and decrepit and having gone through terrible procedures that leave you hurting every day and not functioning properly in many ways, every day. In any case, they're not being honest with people. You can follow what's going on with me at this point because I'll be here on the show and
yep.
I'll let you know what's going on with me as truthfully as I can, as always. Sometimes to a fault.
yeah, been there too.
I've continued to smoke weed through all of this past year.
And do dabs.
But the carbon in the flower, I found very harsh on my throat.
It is hard.
There's not much flower in there, actually.
No, right? So it's most of the concentrates and stuff.
It is,
right?
yeah.
Diamonds and stuff.
And you'll notice I just had a couple
and is
puffs.
that better?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it is?
Oh,
You
yeah,
notice the difference.
Way better.
Without the flour in there,
Yeah, way better.
But you have to
way
have a
less
little bit
harsh.
of flour so it'll burn?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Just a little bit.
And I get the feeling of
So
a
it might
joint.
be like the Ontario people that throw tobacco in their weed so it'll burn because it's
I
so
guess,
fresh
eh?
and wet down there.
Yeah. They just pulled it out of the ditch.
Yeah.
It rained the day before.
Well, it used to be. Now they got government stores there. They probably
That's right,
got
all
dry
over,
weed now.
lots of those. So yeah, I don't take too many puffs. Right?
No, you don't. No.
I don't need to take too many puffs, and I kind of get to where I need to be.
And the dabs are better too.
And I get to hold it like a joint.
Yeah.
And
make you feel good.
So it's I guess it's a 50-year habit. There's something about that for sure. There is something right there in that spot right there.
Yeah.
When that joint is right there in my hand, there's a level of comfort. There's a level of peace that I feel.
Yeah.
Maybe because I know I can take a puff.
Yeah. When you need to.
I don't know, but just noticing it right now, that having it there in my hand, there's a level of comfort there for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, well. What else should we talk about? Not too much.
I don't know. What
eh?
do you got?
What do I got here? I got the
there?
government's cracking down on all the companies that aren't paying their taxes.
Yeah, the CRA is going to go after them.
And they've got new measures to be able to do that.
Yeah.
They're going to withhold funds at the wholesale level, so even when sales are made, you don't get your cash.
I have to say something about that because there was a story on the news this week that the private owners are having hard times making profits if a government store is in their neighborhood.
Yep.
Because the government stores are operating at a loss, and then it doesn't fucking matter to them. So now the private guys are losing half their business, right?
Yeah.
So now they're losing half their business, and now the government wants them to pay their taxes too.
Yeah.
They can't pay their taxes because they're not making enough money because the government's in their fucking
It's
neighborhood.
going to be very hard for a lot of these places.
Right?
So you know what's going to happen? The big boys will take them over.
Yeah.
They'll be bought out by bigger companies that can afford to
handle
the losses
for a bit
until they get more of the market share in Canada here.
Maybe, yeah.
That's what's going to
Like
happen.
a Walmart kind of a store or something, eventually chain or whatever,
Oh, the big players
things,
are in behind there. These are well leveraged companies for sure.
Wow. Eh?
And these
the private guys
private owners are not as well leveraged. That's for sure.
Yeah.
The government stores, by the way, and what we're talking about here in British Columbia is that there's privately owned licensed government store, licensed by the government stores, and then there's government stores that are run by the government, and they have a number of different advantages over these privately owned stores. And for one, like you said, they can operate at a loss without worrying about it.
Yep.
That's taxpayer dollars
at the loss
that are being lost.
Yeah.
They get to renovate their stores and make them look really nice. And, who's paying for that?
And they put them in government building or
government buildings,
or leases or something so they don't have to worry about having to pay the rent as much.
Exactly.
Right? Because they can operate at a loss, right?
So a number of advantages for those stores, and it's unfair to those other retailers. So, that's not my fight, but that's a fight that's being taken up Also, along with us being in court, before that, Dana Larson has got a hearing on March the 5th.
Yeah.
Coming up. And if you've had positive results from the use of psychedelics in your pursuit of living without chronic pain or depression or those sorts of things, here's an opportunity to write a letter that Dana can use to help in his fight to have those things available to people in a reasonable way, which is what's going on with that. Cannabis Culture won their Board of Variance hearing.
Yep.
Despite a couple very notable letters of objection.
Yep.
That I'll just leave at that for now. You can DM me if you want to find out who was behind a couple of letters of dissension opposing Jeremiah and Jody from getting a license that would save their lounge. But anyway, there was 800 letters of support. 800 plus
Way
letters
to go.
of support.
You guys did that.
And there was only just those 2 other letters from the public.
And there was 2 from the...
And there was 2 from other licensed retailers that didn't want the competition. But that's a very interesting thing that I'm not willing to talk about publicly just yet. But the good news is that they won their battle to be able to sell government pot.
Yeah.
Which is, has a double-edged sword to it for sure.
Or maybe have, access to
at this point. Well, that's what they're going to have to be complying with.
Yeah.
But of course, they'll lead the good fight in trying to expand
does it apply
things.
to the lounge? That the lounge can only have what they sell there, or can people bring in their own pot?
You could bring in your own stuff.
Good. So we can still do that.
And there's no government-sanctioned lounges yet, and there's a couple in Coquitlam that are fighting for that right.
Yeah.
Along with, I would imagine, Jeremiah
but I know
and
the
Jody.
government's considering outdoor cannabis areas.
Yeah, they're going to allow for
some outdoor ones
for some consumption of cannabis outdoors.
It's because of WorkSafe. WorkSafe says that employees cannot work in somewhere where it's smoky, right? So that's why they want to do the outside ones, so that employees aren't exposed to smoke.
And in the case of cigarettes, it's because there's potential for cancers.
Yeah.
In the case of cannabis, there's cancer-curing smoke going on there.
No, we can't have that.
But they're concerned about people getting high.
Yeah.
And
so what? Lots of people work high. On medications, on some people that do smoke cannabis.
Does WorkSafe Canada have a clue?
No.
About how many people out there are using cannabis and working quite successfully with it?
They don't. They only go by what the government tells them.
And they have strict protocols for punishing people, denying claims, and all the rest of it if there's cannabis in a person's system, where... and here's an example. I worked in construction for a long time, and you might think I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. Those big crane operators, they work in tandem. There's a person on the ground that loads, and there's a person in the crane up top. And, I know personally of situations where if the guy on the ground wasn't convinced that the guy up in the crane had enough weed with him for the day, he'd make sure he had it.
Yeah.
Because contrary to Cheech and Chong stereotypes, people in the professions, all kinds of different professions, they use cannabis as a focusing tool. It's not, smoke a joint and now you're retarded.
No.
And, you're going to fall asleep and you're going to miss what you're supposed to be doing. It's that you can really focus in if you use it properly. Now, outside of your normal use, you may well be impaired. But within that regular usage of a veteran user, my experience, and I can speak for a number of other people who have shared it with me as well, that it really helps you. When I was working in construction, it would definitely help me get my jobs done.
Yeah.
I could go out during the break or just before starting another little project, have a couple of puffs of the sacred magical herb, and arrange in my mind the sequence of events that was about to happen, and go and just happily get that job done in a much more efficient fashion than I would if I hadn't had those puffs. And you can test me on that. I was always hoping somebody would test my driving under cannabis or something
I've
like
been
that.
wanting to be tested, and I even push the limit. Sometimes if I'm driving home on my way to bed, it's that time of the night, I'll smoke a joint and listen to sleep music on my way home on the highway just to get myself prepared for by the time I get home. Right? Some people,
and no trouble so far.
No trouble so far. I'm still here today. I don't fall asleep at the wheel. Right? I wouldn't do it if I did, but I don't. But it does help me prepare for. And now we have the proof that it does help. And my doctor knows it helps too. I actually sent him that article today because he was so happy that I wasn't taking oxazepam anymore and using cannabis for sleep.
Was it last week on the show we talked about somebody who did leather, and was it you that suggested to them they did leather artwork as well, and you suggested that, and because they said something about drinking. Okay, maybe it wasn't you, maybe it wasn't on the show, so it's valid to say
about leather artwork. Yeah, there.
And that the guy he said you might have something there. I think it was you that he was much more creative after he had smoked a joint.
Yes.
Than
I was on Leather Lodge.
And you suggested that he could have a show about leather and art and cannabis.
Yeah, I want to go back and talk to him about it, actually.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up is because, if you have any doubts about whether or not cannabis can help you focus and can be used as a focusing tool, you need look no farther than the amazing art, music, and the arts.
Ask artists, ask magicians.
Yeah. I mean, if cannabis helps them get their work out.
Some will say yes and some will say no because there's an opposite to everything.
Of course.
Right? There will be people that it's going to help and there's going to be people that won't help.
But most people it helps.
Yes, most people.
Most artists like the effects of cannabis and feel that it helps them in their work, whatever artistic endeavor they're working in. And I think the arts can be also overlapped into the professions, because at the higher levels of doing, carpentry, electricity, plumbing, I mean, it's an art. It is an art form, and people are performing it as such. And in all of those professions, I'll tell you, from personal experience, cannabis helps people do their job. Yeah. And I don't guess I need to say no more.
Maybe I should go back and talk to that guy, and we can smoke a couple of joints, make some stuff. And people would say, "Hey, you got to watch this show. They can smoke cannabis and do art, and it proves that it throws it in their face that
and it's not a unique.
You're not retarded after smoking pot.
It's not a unique thing.
No, it's not. No, but we need to show people that just so they know it, right? So
and now you need to look no farther than.
And I have a platform I can put them on.
The plethora of aging rockers that are out there. Guys that, based on their drug use and notorious drug use, should not still be able to strum their guitars, strut the stage, and sing their stuff the way that they do. Yeah. They're still amazing performers, into their 80s. Incredible. So all of those myths have been long ago debunked. It's time to end the drug war. It's time to end the attempt to prohibit people from having access to especially cannabis, but whatever else they need for themselves. It can be done in reasonable, regulated ways that do not involve prohibition, do not involve gangsters and shootings in neighborhoods and billions of dollars wasted and people's lives ruined. It doesn't need to involve any of that. Enough already. Oh my God, if we had all the facts that we have out in front of us now, 40 years ago, this drug war would have never continued beyond that. But it's about so much money and so many greedy people that can see dollar signs and don't give a damn about people's lives and love controlling people. They're well entrenched now. Another 40 years of figuring out how to spend money to protect their interests and keep it all going. And that's what's happening. We need to stop it. I hope you all help us out with that. We're going to do a brief outside and see what's going on there.
Sure, we're going to go outside.
And then that kind of will be that for that.
Okay. Especially with that chicken there today.
Oh, man. Oh, that just...
Can I give you a minute here?
Oh, you can have a minute, but you can't have it. You can't have any sex.
Oh, no, that.
There was I was 19 years old, and I.
Just wait. Okay, now you can. Yeah.
Did it?
Yeah, no. So sorry.
Okay, so I'm 19 years old. I walk up to the teller's wicket in the Bank of Hong Kong there, and the teller there, she's doing something. She's all, and she looks at me and says, "You'll just have to give me some sex here," because she was going to say, "Give me a sec," but she knew she needed more than just the one sec, so she said I had to give her some sex. And I said, "Oh, how much sex would you like?" She turned 5 different shades of red. And anyway, right. That wasn't the bank employee that I ended up marrying, but it was the same bank branch. I love that. Those concentrates work pretty good.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Yeah.
Just do a dab.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it was snow. Maybe a little wet snow there.
You know, pretty much weekly THC Show weather report from downtown Vancouver, not to be confused with the ongoing weather reports from any of the other 7 chapters of the CSP that are working out there. I know in Halifax they got a couple feet of snow still, and I can only imagine. But in any case, here we are, and it is a little bit of snow coming down.
Yeah.
You can probably barely even see it.
It's not as much as it was before, yeah.
Yeah, nothing stuck to the ground, and that's pretty much how it is when it snows in late February like this. It's just a short cold snap. We had our coldest night last night at -2, and it warms up from there as we go. So anyway, a little bit damper than most people like it perhaps, but that's the wet coast for you.
That's the wet coast, yeah.
Thankfully, we're able to provide a little bit of shelter for people while they're dealing with us at the RV. We haven't had any more problems with the VPD. I know I posted a video of them telling me we couldn't have the tent there unless it was really raining hard, and his version of raining hard was certainly a lot different than mine. But that wasn't about that. That was about them, without coming out and saying so, wanting us to move away from the spot that we were in just a little ways down the block, because it was interfering with emergency vehicles that would need to stop there and had some issues with that in the weeks before, and with the sort of aging care type home that's there for the Asian people that wanted to be able to get into their handy darts. And with our RV there parked in front, they were mostly having to walk up to the lane and get in there. And no one had ever suggested that to me. Yeah. And as soon as the city engineers finally came, after a couple of weeks of harassment of tickets, and they towed me, and I can't have the tent up, and all this stuff. And it turns out all it was about was that. If they'd only said so in the beginning, but right away when they told me that's what it was, I said, I completely agree with you. And so they said we could park it up further up the block, and this is, you know, where we started in the first place.
And they don't even charge you anymore, right?
They had no more incidents at all with any of them. In fact, what we did have was a parking person when George was concerned as to whether or not the parking had been paid on the RV as he was coming down. And he said, "Oh no, don't worry about the RV. You don't have to pay the parking on that. We've been told not to touch that."
Oh, well, that's nice.
And he also said that City of Vancouver likes harm reduction.
Yeah.
So that was good to hear. We're still paying the parking on it all day, every day, just to make the point. You know, I think they should formally come and tell me that, and then that would be great, and I'd get some recognition. But instead, they talk in strange language of you know, putting pressure on you until you move, without telling you the reason they want you to move, which would have made you move no problem in the first place if they'd have just told you. So anyway, the city is a funny place. Nobody wants to take responsibility for acknowledging any type of support for what we're doing here. They're all afraid of the federal government, or whatever powers, I guess, Health Canada has, or whoever's behind all of this. I don't really know. But every government agency that I wrote emails to over these past several years that we've been doing this has never replied to me.
I know.
Rebecca Bly, the counselor, has replied to me on a couple of occasions when it really got serious for us, and she reached out. And she's the one that was the result of the motion being passed by City Council to support us in the first place. But then they had to cede to City Hall, or to Health Canada's judgment, and we've been waiting ever since for that, although we've got a notice of denial, and now we've got court dates, and we'll see what the courts say about all of that. But these government agencies do not want to have any type of a paper trail or electronic trail that would show that they acknowledged in any way that we're here and we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
It is really quite the exercise in exposing just how corrupt our whole system is. That when they want to shut something out, cancel it, not let it be, they have great ability to do that. So, but we're still here.
Yeah.
And we have our signs out every day to let all these people driving by know what we're doing, and people in the city that I meet randomly. So, you know, we are doing our job of getting our message out without the mainstream media or the help of government agencies, but they all kind of just ignore what's going on here, and this is big news in my opinion. This should be told loud and clear all across the country that there's a way out of the hard drug addiction that works way better than anything the government's got with their substitute, you know, synthetic opioids to just replace the other opioids and blah, blah, blah. You're still an addict. With cannabis high-dose edibles, you can get through withdrawal, and you can use cannabis edibles or concentrates to deal with your stuff after that. So what are you saying to me? We got to go.
Yeah, I had almost hit the button to cancel.
You told me I had 1 more minute.
All right. No, I was saying 1 week of high-dose edibles gets you off. Yes. That's what that was the one for. Yeah. You're dropping empty bags.
So, yeah, to further on that point, the high-dose edibles, I mean, it's not magic. It's not like you take one and then you're not addicted to drugs anymore.
No.
But done properly, used during that period of withdrawal where your body is in agony because it's not getting what it's used to having, the high-dose edibles allows people some comfort through that and some people to sleep through most of that. But it's got to be done properly. You got to start low, go slowly up until you get to the right dose that works, and then use that to do that with. So, you know, that's big news in my opinion, and you don't hear that anywhere. It's not talked about on any of the mainstream media outlets. I mean, there are podcasts about it for sure, but this is a story that needs to be told, and the fact that it's not being told when it's been so, you know, out in the face of society and media and government is evidence of just how strong the forces are that want to manipulate the marketplace to have this system of cannabis dispensing that keeps those prices beyond the reach of the people that really need it, and putting huge dollars in the pockets of the corporations and the government friends that have orchestrated all of this. So
the narrative is not on our side.
Not publicly, no. It's not.
Aye. Unfortunately.
So
we're
at the end of the show here. You guys got anything to say?
They only seem to want to help us if it's in the form of a prescription that they can make a lot of money on and have all of our business on record.
Yep.
You know? But they don't want us to be able to help ourselves, and that's what weed does. It allows us to help ourselves.
If it can't be capitalized on, then it's not welcome in the marketplace. And the government, rather than being servants of the public who would make sure that things like that were available in the marketplace, seem to be quite puppets of the side that wants to have the marketplace to themselves and not allow cannabis in there and all the benefits that can come from that. It's an easy to grow plant. It would come to the marketplace in a variety of different prices. Connoisseur cannabis would still be welcome, and there'd be lots of market share for that. But there needs to be low barrier access. There needs to be the farmers having low barriers to the marketplace. Just bring their product to the stores that are selling it. Let the stores decide on the quality. It's not hard to determine the quality of cannabis. And let the marketplace run the cannabis distribution and then people would get reasonable access to what they need. So that's the fight. That's the legalization that we didn't get, that we were asking for. Don't believe that legalization is real in Canada. It's not. It's a government cartel, aggressive, hostile takeover of a centuries-long entrenched, vibrant industry that just needed to have the prohibitions lifted to be able to get people what they need properly. So anyway, that's a long-winded saying, way of saying this for no good reason. I thank you for watching the show. I thank all the people that support the show. I thank Cannabis Culture, my producer Glenn, and all those people that keep the CSPs going right across Canada. Kudos to Halifax and Surrey and Langley and Mission
Love Mission,
and Newton. It's just it's an incredible thing to see. But we got to keep this growing.
And Ottawa too, right?
Ottawa as well.
Yes, you're welcome.
And maybe one of these shows we'll spend some time talking about these other CSPs as we go.
Maybe in the summer we can go see something in Ottawa or something. You could do something like that. Somebody's got an RV, I know.
Yeah, we tried to do that before, but we couldn't get the RV.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, and I don't mean this one.
Yeah, I know.
But maybe we can manage it. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
In any case, whatever you folks are all doing in your lives, I wish you all the success in the world. I hope that what you're doing benefits yourself and benefits other people around you. The real juice in living is to help other people, to help them when they're hurting, but to help them laugh in general, to help them just whatever. If you're in a position where you can help somebody, then you're in a position where you don't need to be helped. And that's a blessed place to be. So consider yourself blessed. Have an attitude of gratitude. Do what you can for helping us, as always. And most important, just have as much fun as you can. We'll see you next week.